Welcome White Lake. This presentation is all about White Lake and what's going on. 118 of you, or 119, somewhere right around there, participated in the survey, and I will tell you that it was very useful, and we'll kind of walk through that in just a minute here. The survey gave us a lot of data. First of all, it showed us where people were looking for upgrades. It showed what was going on in terms of the number of months people are at White Lake, because that became quite important. It also showed the package desired. And all of this allowed us to draft an upgrade plan and to start doing a return on investment calculation. So tonight, we're going to present you the findings of the survey. We're going to do a little bit of work to talk about what we're thinking, and then we're going to talk to you about next steps. We had 118 people fill in the survey. Survey said, "Are you a Storm customer?" It actually turned out that 53 of them weren't Storm customers, and we're hoping that they will show up and decide that they actually want to be part of our stuff. All of these people are helpful to us, especially knowing that if we build something and they do come, there's a possibility that we'll get some of our investment back. Turned out that 19, so let's call it 20%, we're part of a campground, and the rest of you are in your own individual residences and not part of it. So that's important for us for demographics, so that we can actually understand what's going on. There's some new campground solutions. Andreas or Chris, do you want to talk to that a little bit?
Let's do that a bit further down. But this slide is important in that the blue section, which is being part of a campground, is a concentrated area versus the orange piece, which is a very spread out area. So there's a geography piece to this as well.
But that also, Chris, that also impacts seasonal as well, right? The campgrounds are 6 months versus the year-round are 12.
So there's a bunch of different aspects to that slide.
Yeah, some of it. So these are the ISPs that are currently in the area. These are the months people are on the property, and you may notice that 65% of the people are now year-round. We're using that number in order to calculate our revenues, because that is what offsets the capital cost and operating cost to put a network in place in the lake that's better than the one we currently have, which, by the way, technology has changed since we originally put that in. Technology has changed in a number of different ways, including the demands that people need, as well as things that are available in terms of technologies. And so we were able to build a new solution for the lake based on technology and now knowing where everybody was. Our packages that we're going to offer to the lake, assuming that we can go to the next step, they start at 10. And 40% of you wanted 10. Some of you are in 3s and 5s, so that's a pretty good increase, double to triple. Some of you want 15, which is good for a couple of people working from home, or 20, also good for a couple of people. And 25 is actually pretty good. So people don't always know what that means, but roughly, if you're doing Netflix, you need 3 megs down and 1 meg up. If you're running a call like this, the theory is that you should have about 3 or 4 megs down and 1 to 2 megs up, except if you're using Teams, in which case you're going to need 6 down and 3 up. Everybody who works for the government actually needs a much better internet because they all use Teams. They need 6 down and 3 up. And if they're hosting, they need probably 15 down and probably 6 up, because you're not only running your own video, but you have to have enough control on the up to be able to mute people and put them in a queue and all the rest of the things you do when you're administering a conference like this. These are the folks that are already existing customers of Storm and wanted to get an upgrade. You can see that they're pretty well scattered across the lake. Chris, do you want to talk to this slide a little bit, or maybe Andreas?
I can't point to it, but it's on the in the cluster that's sort of in the center right hand side of the screen is Cedar Cove Campground.
Oh, there.
This is I think this is 3 Mile Bay, if I'm not mistaken. And then we've got quite a number of folks along the lake shore who are actually connected to Tony's node, and we've got some folks that are connected from Cedar Cove. We've got some other folks that are connected from a node, a tower that's located on the far west side shore of the lake. not where that Lonely U is, a little bit further up from there. These are existing clients that we can already reach. And the other folks that were surveyed that have shown interest but could not necessarily be reached or needed perhaps some towers or some special equipment are also scattered within these areas. So part of the upgrade process and part of what we're looking at is trying to get a little bit better coverage along here with better speeds, so that we can include some of those folks as well. But in terms of the folks who want the upgrades, these are people who can already, these are already people that can see one or more of our towers to some degree.
So basically, Andreas and Chris have drafted a plan here. And so the White Lake Tower was put in, oh boy, what was the date on that, 2015?
2015, 2012, I think.
2012. And so the trees have grown 20 feet since then. Michelle probably climbed it originally, but it turns out we're going to need about 20 feet. So the plan right now that we're looking at would extend the tower, and that would upgrade the distribution on that tower so that we could actually reach more places around the lake. That's the beginning of it. Andreas, maybe you want to talk about the node upgrades to 25.5?
The 20-foot extension, we're going to be able to see more to the east of White Lake towards a 3-mile campground. Currently, you can just see the mast above the tower. If we add the 20-foot section, you'll be able to clearly see line of sight to the tower, and even to the west of the tower, you'll have a better line of sight. We'll be updating some backhauls in the White Lake area to have increased capacity, as well as some of the backhauls coming from where the fiber is located. Distribution will be upgraded to the latest technology, where we can get the higher modulations to provide 25.5 service. We'll be adding an additional node site as well.
And we were looking at the north side of the lake, but we don't have quite enough demand to make it work into this year's plans. I think, Michelle, maybe you know something about what we would have to do to be able to reach the north side. And I know that you had some concerns about the amount of money we would have to invest to get there.
Well, we're working with the marinas, a couple of marinas over there now to solve their problems, and hopefully that will help with the residential around the marina. That's what we're kind of thinking. It's nothing set in stone yet.
But it can't make it this year, as far as I could see in the plan. So we are working on all this. And we've listened carefully to everything you've had to say. What we've come up with as part of the plan is we're going to need commitments. If you want us to build this service, we need some commitments. We need to have some commitments that talk about what upgrade exactly you want, or if you're new, whether you're new or an upgrade. We will do a site survey to make sure that we know what the signal will be at your site, so we can tell you what we can actually deliver. What we're looking for is commitments, because we do need to, we're a business, and we do need to get a return on our investment. This requires a site survey, and maybe, just maybe, somebody wants to talk about the site survey process.
So what the techs will need to do is they will come out, and for existing customers, they can try to use the current location where their storm radio is installed, but they can also check other locations on the property to see if there is line of sight to a storm node. And then from there, they'll install the new gear, cable it in, and get them a connection. Now, if there's no signal on site for service, then they will have to come back to our office. It'll be evaluated to find out how we can get the faster speeds into the property.
Sometimes there's going to be a need for a tower. We have put together a tower fund so that people can pay a tower off over time rather than having to pay it all in one shot. Yes, there is a small surcharge for doing that helps cover our cost of putting that money in place. But we're not in the tower business. We're actually in the business of connecting you with internet. But if you could get a climbable tower built for you, it's going to cost you the same or actually more than what it costs us to do, because we put a lot of towers in a lot of customer sites over the year. But we do have some funds to do that. The fee for getting the upgrade, $250, which I saw people throwing money at me. I like that. So that's what the deal is. So we're going to put a web page together for commitments. We're going to be looking for people. We're going to look for people to volunteer that. Somebody just asked, could we see the tower sites on the screen? Michelle, do you happen to have a KMZ at home?
Not a KMZ, but I have our Google Maps. You
So
want
you
to
could
see the existing sites?
Yeah, why don't you do that? Bring up the existing sites around White Lake. So at this point in time, the yellow line that's going down the right side goes all the way up to James Campbell. It comes back down. So people in this area are often at a disadvantage because they're bouncing twice in order to get back.
With the additional height on White Lake, we should be able to get to Murray Hill Tower directly, which will eliminate two links, and it'll reduce latency. Even without reducing the latency into White Lake today is very good. We're hitting around the 20-23 millisecond responses on an average. That was our latest test.
So we are looking at where we could go. If we get enough of you that say that you will buy the upgrade or put the new one in, we'll definitely turn around and build out something that I think you're all going to be pleased with. So that's what we could do. If we went and did the north side of the lake and James Campbell upgrade and it would be a lot of money, like over $300,000. There's not enough revenue from the lake to be able to do that, but this particular upgrade is going to be over $100,000. But we think we can do it if a bunch of the 118 say yes, and maybe some more neighbors say yes. Commitments with
the Gary node is a tree today. So we're looking at trying to replace that as well somehow. So that'll be part of the plan. We'll try to get that thing out of the tree.
Yeah, it turns out that the WSIB doesn't like you climbing trees anymore. So one of the things we would really like to be able to do here is to in our network we have a number of tree nodes, and we over the next year we would like to have a plan for remediating them and turning them into some kind of a real node, a tower here and there, so we can distribute it that way. I think that's the best way to say it.
Actually, over the last five or so years, we've eliminated a lot of our tree nodes. There's very few tree nodes left in our network. We replace them with either standalone towers, or we've moved the nodes to better locations. So there's just a few left. Gary happens to be one of them.
Existing customers, Vern is asking, can existing customers upgrade? The answer is absolutely.
So once the infrastructure is put in to support the faster speeds, you just contact the residential sales department and we'll schedule a site survey for our technicians to go out and upgrade for the faster speeds.
Okay.
You got to remember, some of you existing customers have been there for a while, and there might be some trees in the way. And this technology is not more magical, but it does need a better line of sight. So that's where we might have to introduce more height, clear trees, something, right?
Yeah.
To the existing line.
We may want to point out here that I saw somebody earlier asking about 2 up and so on. So all of our velocity packages have a minimum of 3 up. So it's 10.3, 15.3. I think it's 20 over 5, right, Jason? And then 25 over 5, I believe, are the speeds. The reason we chose 3 is because that's what you need to, if you have a VPN or if, and for some of the government stuff, that's kind of the minimum you need. So that's been very successful for us, for people who are working from home. So,
and like somebody just said, you have a clear line of sight and you have a 10.5 today, then it's just a matter of changing the hardware. You should be golden.
That would be, once if you're eligible, if we've got it upgraded, then that piece, then you can go to 25.5 right away.
Yeah, this one works well. I'm going to ask a simple question verbally. Hi there. So the question is, I'm going to be fed off Suzanne power, but we will be 2 people working at home with teams. So if by the example, we need 6 up.
If you're not controlling the meeting, you can probably get away with 2 of you running on 25.5 quite easily.
We're now currently we're at a Cedar Cove with 20 down, 5 up, and we can survive, but it's sometimes a little iffy.
I think the extra 5 will make a difference.
Well, no, but we are both running with 20 down and 5 up currently, and have been for the last 2 summers out of Cedar Cove. Okay. So what I'm looking for is a permanent solution for the
Well,
two of us. So would this mean that I would buy the service twice?
That's one possibility. There's another possibility. We're actually introducing some SOHO packages, small office, home office packages, where it is possible, and we've done this for a couple of clients, where they actually got 100, just because they were willing to pay commercial grade, or their department they worked for, or company they worked for, were willing to pay that because they saved on the office space that these people weren't using. So they got their bosses to throw money in to get that done.
What is the cost of commercial grade?
Depends. Since commercial connections come with SLA, like same day or next day, the prices are different than residential. It maybe go more than $200, and then also the equipment. So again, we need a site survey, and then technical team decides if we can support 50-50 or 100-100. I don't want to say that for sure we can offer it.
So
Yeah.
the other thing is to get those speeds, because the distribution nodes only go up to 5 up. They won't go any further. We can't oversubscribe ourselves that way. So a commercial will have to be either a point-to-point from one of the main towers. There could be
Okay.
rental at the tower that we're taking off from because of space limitations and whatnot. And it has to be able to have the frequency in the air to be able to accommodate that with all the other frequencies in the air. So there's a process to go through to see if we can even get you 100 in those areas. So then becomes a 6 hops from a fiber. So we wouldn't be able to maybe give you that much uploads over there. So that's the kind of things we have to look out.
Yeah, and if we redeployed the network and did things out of Murray Hill, you'd get a slightly better with that node.
So I'm a little left of Gary's tree node, and because of the tree foliage, I'm running a 10.1, I think it is right now. I had to put a tower up, and I did that within the last year, and I'm pointing across to Susan's node. With the fee that you're recommending, $250, would I, and I have neighbors as well who are pointing over to Susan's node and are probably interested, would that node be upgraded for a 25.5 service for us that can see that?
Susan will be on the list to upgrade to 25.5.
Okay, and so anybody who can see it would get that service?
With clear line of sight, yes.
And the pricing, I think I saw a message, will follow the existing storm pricing for 25.5 service that's listed on the website?
Monthly, yes.
Okay.
Install, and the install as well, it's $250 for the install.
Thank you.
So I'm one of the lucky ones on Lakeshore. I'm not even sure where my tower is. But anyways, I just upgraded to 10.1 as well, probably a couple of months ago. And like I see your pricing and everything for 25.5. My issue is probably like most people, I'm looking for the biggest number, not 25. I'm looking for 500 or gig, and I know I'm not going to get that right away. We unfortunately have huge pictures, files of pictures that go up and down. So even at 10.1, I cannot convince my wife to come up and work at cottage. It's impossible. I can get away with it, but I'm on my own. So it's like a chicken and egg thing here, guys, because for the amount of money that you're charging, if Mr. Musk there gets all his satellites up there and he's going to offer me, 800 down and whatever, 200 up for 130 a month, well, guess where I'm going?
Yep, I get that. We also are building stuff. So the Starlink, only so many can actually operate inside a 10-click range. So it's not a community solution for the number of people that are even in this community. You won't all be able to get a Starlink, even if you do want to put the 800 US in to get that. Plus, you want to pay the $159 US a month for the connection.
Sure, I would gladly do that to get that kind of service. I know a lot of people around Calabogie Lake that are not having any problems right now at all. I don't know how tightly grouped they are. But even like when Bell put up their tower, I had great hopes that I might be able to be line of sight of their tower and get some decent internet here. So, basically I'm just looking for whoever's going to provide me the best for the best price. 25.5, yeah, okay. It's better than what I got now, but
Well, move to Clayton. We'll give you a gig fiber to your door.
So that's the other thing too. So in the roadmap of wireless technology, they're working on 100 now to the point to multi-point type of solutions. But again, it's very early stages. The gig wireless, that's a tough one. Right? But
And the gig wireless gets affected by raindrops. Rainbox, fog, snow, all of that gets in the way.
That doesn't need to be a gig. 250. And let's not get into the rain and fog and whatever. I mean, your stuff is good, but as soon as there's a power outage, and we've had a few of those, down goes the internet, right? After a certain period of time, yeah, you got a battery, but it doesn't last long.
Well, we've been working on resilience for the entire network, just so you know, George. It is a plan to continue to upgrade, add generators in various places where the UPS seems to get hit too often in a year. And we're also going to suggest to customers that they might want to get their own UPSs, and we might be able to do that.
I just wanted to mention, for George's benefit, that I'm running Starlink concurrently with Storm in a fallover situation through my router setup, so that if Starlink goes down, it defaults and goes back to running the Storm automatically. I got to tell you, Starlink is not the be all and end all. I typically see, and I've got clear line of sight, I typically see about 150 down, which is, excellent, and about 25 up. I know other people in the United States who are seeing, double, 3 times that, but because we're so far north, there aren't as many satellites covering the area. And there's also points throughout the day where there's no connection at all. So you're kind of dead in the water. Now that's, I default back to Storm, and that keeps us working. My wife's working from home, and if I'm doing stuff here at the same time, it works. But Starlink really, it's a beta system right now. It's not meant for the mainstream, particularly in this area and at this latitude, I guess is the correct term. If you're living down in the United States where there are more satellites overhead, I think you'd be doing pretty well. But from the numbers that I've crunched, if we get the 25.5 or the 50.10 or whatever from Storm, the 25.5, fairly soon, and maybe somewhere down the road, the next level up, that's going to more than cover our needs from working at home doing stuff. My wife, similar to your situation, has a lot of graphic files that are moved up and down through a VPN to her work in the city, and it's a huge number of files in terms of the file size as well. So I understand what you're saying about how difficult it is to move large graphics and things, but I figure if Storm comes through with the 25.5, I'm going to cancel the Starlink, because I think the Storm will handle it just fine. But we literally couldn't work together at home on the 10, I think it was 10.5 system. But I think this new upgrade will allow us to do that, and I'll kiss Elon's system goodbye. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say about Starlink, because I know a lot of people think it's a great thing, but at this latitude, it really isn't. My personal experience.
So there's a question here from Roland. Roland, did you want to read your own question, or do you want to have, we'll have Jason read it, because Jason knows where you are.
Okay, well, let Jason do it, please.
Okay, Jason, you're up.
All right, so I'm just having a look here. Okay, so you live in, and the trees are blocking line of sight. Okay, are there plans to increase the height of the tower at Cedar Cove?
That's in our plan.
If we get enough subscribers, absolutely.
We're not that many up here, and some are just summer residences, but hopefully you can get a few more. But I'm getting some signal, but it's slower, and I lose a lot of data coming in, so it takes a little longer for downloads and that.
Now yours might be a good example, Roland. Where's your radio mounted, for example?
It's right on the side of the lake.
So it's on a tree?
Yeah, it's not. It's about 6-8 feet above the water, maybe 12 feet above the water.
Oh, okay. And you used to have line of sight to the tower at Cedar Cove?
Yeah, well, it used to be in the pine tree, and the pine tree got sick, and we had to take it down. That's where the guys put it on the lake.
Oh, okay.
So following up on your UPS question, does Tony, Susan, and Gary, do they have backup power on their nodes?
I only have backup power on mine if I actually take my generator outside, fire it up, and plug it in. And depending on what Hydro One says when I call in or text in, if it's only going to be a few minutes, I don't bother going through that hassle. But if it's going to be several hours, then yeah, I'll pull the generator out and fire it up so that, and the power to the node that I have here is also hooked up to a fairly robust UPS system. So that initial time that the power goes down, my node still has power. So if someone else on the lake that's firing off of it has their own generator system, they won't lose service through me because mine's running off the UPS. Hopefully that's all I need to do, but if it's gonna be longer, I'll take the generator out and set it up. But
okay, and then as you get down further for Susan and Gary, they don't. Right?
I think we missed John A's last question. No, Gary and Susan did not have a generator. It's a small node box. We could look into that, to adding a larger box on the UPS.
So how did Storm come about? Just a bunch of guys that wanted internet and started putting nodes up and letting other people join?
It was more a bunch of guys who filled the room of modems for dial-up, and then wireless came after.
You guys aren't that old yet. You can't be on the modems. That's for guys like me.
No, we Paul Haggard was playing in modems, and we started playing with ISDN, and it all started way back.
So Gary made the comment that they have a generator, it just takes 30 seconds to kick in. But again, part of the upgrade plan that we're looking at is to have at least small UPSs at every node in this that you can see on the screen here, to give enough time if there are generators to kick in, and then you wouldn't see it break and you wouldn't see an interruption in service. White Lake has a big UPS, 12 hours plus.
Gary, thanks for the information. And we'll be sure to include all the node hosts in our network resilience planning over the next few months. We're going to be talking to node hosts and figuring out what they have, making sure we have an inventory, and seeing where we need to put new things to try and improve the resilience across the whole network. And for small office, home office, we will be offering people the ability to order a UPS from us, because we're going to order them by the pallet anyway. It'll be part of the small office, home office, new pricing stuff that's coming. And Glenn has a Generac as well.
I mean, most folks on the lake probably have Generac systems. So what COVID brought to my attention was not running off battery was a killer, because as soon as your system dropped, Generac kicks in 15 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever, but you lost all your connection.
Yeah.
So I run everything off battery now, and then it gives me time for the Generac system to actually kick in. So I don't have any downtime. Even this call, if this were to drop, the biggest problem I have is the tower over at the White Lake, what used to be our fire hall until they closed it. It doesn't have generating capability. So when it drops,
yeah, but it's got an upgraded UPS that's got at least 12, if not 16 hours of capacity.
Okay, Chris, appreciate that, because sometimes the lake is really funny in terms of how power runs. So there's multiple grids that feed the lake. And sometimes I can be sitting near Cedar Cove, I've got no lights. On the other side of the bay, near the fire hall, they've got power. And then the other time is also true, where they lose power and we still have power. So it gets bizarre.
But for how long? Is it long times, or is it like half an hour or 15 minutes or 2 minutes or 6 hours?
It can be hours and hours. It can be days.
Yeah, it could be days.
Okay, well, that's obviously a problem.
Yeah, they have a very different feed. Like even Cedar Cove Resort, we're talking one resort in your middle of your map. It has two power grids that feed it, one from the west end and one from the east end.
Right.
So even there's times when Cedar Cove, half of it has no power and half of it does. And I know this for a fact because I had a trailer there for 10 years. So like I said, it's a common problem. But like I said, we're willing to pay for upgrades. So I don't care about the $250, completely irrelevant. We just need speed. and we need it now.
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed.
Well, we will put a new message out next week. We will be looking to get a commitment page, or you can just reach out to ressales@storm.ca, and either one of those will suffice, just to say that you're committed getting an upgrade. We'll add together what we look like we're getting, and that will decide the level of investment we're going after. The ideal piece would be that all of you who said you wanted some kind of an upgrade executed on that upgrade, because that would help offset the over $100,000 that we know we have to invest to make this happen. And that would be the right level to be at. That would get the southern part of the lake much better service than it currently.
Yeah, sorry, George here again. You got people like my neighbor who is also currently storm, and he upgraded to the 10.1 at the same time I did. I was the one who let him know about it, and then he upgraded right away. He's not the type to be in this meeting or to go on a site or somewhere and commit, but if he knows that there's 25.5 available, he'll be one of the first to sign up. So that's like I said, the chicken and egg thing too, right?
We might have to send it. We might have to send a street team out.
All existing customers in White Lake will be offered an upgrade.
Yeah, we'll have an email campaign that will go out next week to talk about it, and we'll follow up with you guys. We really want to do this, and we think we can do it in what, 6-8 weeks?
Some, not all. The complete plan that I showed you, Burkett, is not a 6 to 8 week plan. It will take a good chunk of the summer.
It starts pretty quickly, though.
I'll say that we have some low hanging fruit where we can get some traction fairly quickly. But things like extending the White Lake Tower is not a trivial undertaking. That is something that needs more logistics on Michelle's part and others on the construction side. So there's a little bit more to it for some of those. Cedar Cove, if we can extend the tower there, that's a fairly quick undertaking. Tony's already taken care of. To get a load on Lakeland Road across from Tony, that's probably relatively simple as well. It just needs a lease and some other stuff. Susan is relatively easy to upgrade. But a lot of it hinges on getting the White Lake Tower extended, and that's the first order of business.
So again, myself and a bunch of neighbors with existing towers, if we require, will we require a new receiver, and will our upgrade include people climbing the tower to install that receiver? Or is there an additional charge, or do the existing receivers work for an upgraded speed?
Yes, you need a new radio, and we have to confirm the line of sight that it's very good. So there'll be some testing on the existing infrastructure you have now.
Okay.
And yet we'll climb, we'll do all that work.
Okay.
And if you're around, we'll probably install the radio on the spot.
And
Okay.
the additional stuff comes in is if we have to extend the tower or get off the roof from a tripod to a tower. That's when we'll have to estimate what we'll need to get you the upgrade at the site survey.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
A question there from Doug. I didn't quite see it.
What about the safety of the towers and the potential effect of additional microwave energy on wildlife? Has this been considered?
Well, the towers are built to proper safety standards with proper mounting. If they have to go more than a certain number of sections above a roof line, then they have to be guyed. All of those sorts of things. For safety reasons, we're not building in trees anymore, as Burkett mentioned earlier, but we will mount radios at ladder height along the shoreline to which gives you maybe 15, 20 feet, something like that, which then, gets you well above your head and gives you probably line of sight in many cases from the shoreline, because there's no local foliage on your property in the way. So there are different ways to do things, but safety is always kept in mind. In terms of the radiation levels, we follow something called Safety Code 6, which defines what radiation levels are non-harmful to humans and presumably wildlife as well. The signal levels that are actually being emitted by the radios and by the towers, for that matter, at even 10, 15 feet from the radio is almost non-existent, and it's way less than the Wi-Fi radiation that is exhibited by your router inside your house. So, or the cell phone that you're holding in your hand.
Right.
So if your dog or cat, let's say, survives those things, they will be totally unharmed by what is outside.
Doug, I hope that totally answered your question.
I've been following Safety Code 6 for a number of years, and there's a hearing, there's a petition in front of the Senate right now regarding Safety Code 6 and the effect on wildlife. There's been a federal hearing, it's about 5 years ago, about Safety Code 6. A number of people have spoken about it and studied it over the years. So there has been a number of safety related issues, not just respect to the birds and the bees, but people as well. So I know that there's varying degrees of, agreement on what Safety Code 6 does, but as you bring more microwave energy into the wilderness, into the forest, right now, a lot of it's focused out in the city. And they're noticing a lot of things, negative effects around the cities, around Toronto, around Ottawa. As they implement 3G and 5G, there's a lot of things about the controls around radiation, how there's not really a maximum setting. Really, it's just about what is the best reception you can get. Right now, it seems like the sky is the limit. As high as the reception is, as high as the microwave density is, the better, because you'll get better, faster reception. These are kind of things, these are parts of the reasons why I like White Lake, because it is a little bit off grid. It's not that dense. So as I see, there's obviously towers already, but as I see it propagating and the density is going to get higher, then you may actually start negatively affecting that nature that you're trying to live within. So these are just comments. I don't know if it's going to have much effect on this group here, but I know that there are many petitions that have been outstanding, and there's a lot of people questioning the validity of Safety Code 6 right now. One of the big things that has been talked about for solutions is a wired solution, and I don't know how feasible that is for Storm to provide that. Those are some of the alternatives. I don't know if I was a bit late joining, so I don't know if that was presented as part of this or if it's more a cell tower, tower to tower solution.
Unfortunately, doing wired solutions in a rural area are quite expensive. In fact, that's one of the reasons why you won't see 5G on White Lake properly implemented, because 5G actually would require a fiber tower every 200 meters. And if they're doing that, they may as well just feed you directly to your house with a fiber. That's not happening. So, and we know what it costs to put in, because we're doing 35 kilometers of fiber this year around Clayton Lake. So, and we know that what it takes to actually hook up a house that way, especially if you're that close to the Canadian Shield, which, as you may know, requires you to dig in rock to be able to plant your fiber. So a lot of those things, Doug, are things that we monitor, and we certainly have to follow all the safety guidelines, which apply to the whole industry.
So I can answer some of that Safety Code 6 stuff. We're only allowed to operate in at 36 EIRP for power output for distribution, which is about 4 watts of power. We're not changing any of that. All of our existing towers are going to remain the same. We've been operating in White Lake for over 10 years with the same power output. It's not going to change. We're just changing out equipment. Insofar as the Bells and the TELUS and the Rogers, the cell distribution for their 3500 megahertz FWA service, which is 25/5 service, they're operating at 68 EIRP, dBm EIRP, which is 6,223 watts of power. That's a comparison between what we're distributing and what a Bell or a Rogers is going to be broadcasting at. So they have more of an impact in environmental than Storm will have or will have.
Yeah, all our equipment is the ISM band. We're still running the ISM by 5 gigahertz, 2.4. We're not going to these. Yeah, so it's not 5G at all. It's not compared to that at all.
Yeah, it's still microwave.
Still microwave within the ISM band with the limited power output and whatnot.
Okay, and you said it's 4 watts of power operating?
Yeah, it's 36 dBm EIRP. So that's the output power, which is 4 watts.
It's Wi-Fi on steroids, really. That's what it is.
Well, actually, it's not even particularly steroidal.
True, it's more directional, yeah.
It's more directional than anything else. The other piece of it is we are required to file Safety Code 6 reports. And in general, we are less than 0.05% of the required output. So it's because we're in an unlicensed frequency band. We are not allowed to operate at high wattage levels. 4 watts is nothing. 6,000 watts is a lot. And those are the guys, Xplornet, Bell, Rogers, as Andreas said, they're the ones that are blasting that stuff from all the towers they're building right now. And 5G is going to make that even worse because they're going to use larger band sizes as well. So there's quite a bit of radiation coming off of those towers. We're just nowhere near that kind of level.
Well, we've finished our hour. I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out, and let you know that if there's anything we can do, feel free to write to us. We really do care about your business. We really do care about the network we're building, and we actually are always there to try and help a community, as opposed to, we'll help individuals, but it's only because we're helping the community. So the cost is shared across the whole community. And we do make investments. This is not funded by the federal government at all, or the Ontario government, or even Lanark Highlands themselves. Just so you get it, it's on our dime.